2003 to his passing in 2020, none of you said anything to his face. You didn't hear it coming up in interviews. A little bit of static came up around Oscar time. It came up and it died. But Gayle King claiming to be a friend of his, you had all the time in the world to ask him the same questions you wanted to ask him to his face. Or you could have, if you wanted to get the opinions of his colleagues, you could have asked his colleagues while he was alive. But you chose to throw that in there where every other journalist on the planet decided to let it go. You decided to bring it up. And that was just wrong. And I heard somebody talking about it earlier, and she was like, you have to understand the pain that this community has of the things that they've been through and the things that they've had to survive, or the things that they're still dealing with, because we like to say that certain things are so far behind us, and I just don't understand why Black people are still so upset and still angry about things that have happened hundreds of years ago. But a lot of these people are still dealing with things like this right now. Turn on the news at any given time. Scroll through your Facebook feed at any given time. Folks being stopped from going into their own apartments, being pulled out of their cars because the car was too nice, they thought it was stolen, being told they can't be seated in restaurants. Like, it's something that is continuing to happen. So, yeah, they haven't let it go. Because that pain is still right here riding in the car with them every single day. When they leave their houses, they are terrified. Because today might be that day that I crossed the wrong person, and I'm not trying to, but I may end up with a bullet in my back. Like, they are still, or I may end up being called out my name. This is still a thing. It's still a very painful thing. And to bring up something like that, instead of doing what every other good journalist did, and just talked about his legacy, and they put out there their prayers for Vanessa and prayers for the kids. And, that woman is about to bury a 13-year-old child. And then for this, because you had to know that when you decided to say something like that and decided, I don't care how many ways you said the network cut up the clip, it was still the fact that you said it, whether the clip was cut in the middle, cut in the back, it was out of context. It was still, the words came out your mouth. We saw what came out your mouth. And the response you got and how you went back in. That is where people are upset. And we've got to stop doing that to each other. And now I'm talking to everybody. As a whole, as people, period. We've got to stop doing that to each other. You can't keep putting each other in, or speaking on each other rather, in a bad light like that. Because you don't know what the next person has been through. You don't know that other person's life. I actually listened to somebody tear down a young man because of something he was doing. And as I was watching him, I knew why he was doing what he was doing. The reason I understand it is because I've been where he was. But the other person had never lived that life. They didn't know anything about it. They came from their, bougie frou-frou shelter place, and everything that anybody does that they've never seen in the, frou-frou shelter place is ratchet and hood. Okay, it might be ratchet and hood to you, but not to some of us. That's just everyday life. That's just that young man trying to make it from day to day. And instead of passing judgment, maybe understand that person's behavior is because of where they came from or things that were done to them. Say a prayer for them. And keep your mouth shut. Because if you've never walked in my shoes, you can't talk about what my shoes look like. You've never walked in my shoes. You never walked my road. And you can't talk about how, that road looked bad. Well, and it's still mine. And I have to walk it. You don't. So people, we got to do better. We have to do better. We can't just let this be another moment where we're all about peace and love for a week, 2 weeks, maybe 3, and then it's over and it's done with, and we are right back to what we were doing. And because of how I came up, and because of the things I've learned about myself in recent months, I absolutely refuse to stay silent and not speak up in areas where I feel as though my voice might help. We have to get better at showing more compassion, or at least knowing when to shut up. That's something that it took me years to learn. Years. And when I say years, I figured it out about 2 weeks ago. It, I have a very bad habit of, if it's coming up, it's coming out. And I had to honestly learn that there are times in certain situations that I need to just swallow my opinion and not speak on it. And not because I'm cowering down or not because I'm running scared. It's because sometimes I can be quite rude and hateful. And not every situation requires the harshness that I can bring to a situation. Like, not everything needs to be, a rough snap at somebody. Sometimes you have to use a little more compassion, a little more love in your tone. And that's why I have a best friend, because I have a hard time with things like that. I'm working on it. Don't judge me. But we got to get better at it, myself included, at showing more love and more compassion to the next person, because you never know what that person has been through, what has happened to them. And you don't know if the compassion you show them that day, the love that you show them that day, is the very thing that helps get them to the next moment or helps change their lives for the better. We never know. And we also have to be careful with what we let come out of our mouths. We have to watch spitting venom where it's not needed, where it's not necessary. It was funny. I watched a clip on YouTube of a journalist who was speaking about this recent situation. And he had me laughing because he was like, you always know when you're about to say something that isn't quite right. The ancestors are tapping you on the shoulder, telling you, you know what? Nah, baby, not that one. And it's very true. You know when you are about to put something out there that you really shouldn't. There's just something in your gut that says, don't do it. Listen to that. That is your conscience, your ancestors, whatever you want to call it, the Lord, whatever it is that you want to believe that it is, it's telling you to shut up, because now is not the time, and those words are not going to help. So if you've taken away nothing else from this entire podcast, please take away the fact that we have to do better about showing love to ourselves. We have to do better about loving the people around us. We have to do better about honestly telling people, listen, although I care for you as a person, your situation and my situation are not going to work. I need to go my way. You need to go yours. Learn to put more compassion in the air and see how things will get better for you. See how things will change for you. And until the next time, lovely people, I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye to you all. And you have a great rest of your Sunday night. The second half of the podcast will be loading up later on this evening. So I hope you'll give both sections a listen. Also, there's going to be another video coming up next Saturday that goes up on my Facebook page. So if you've been following my Facebook page, you'll be able to see that video. And I'm going to put some information up for where you can not only listen to this podcast, but make sure that you have the information for the group so that you can also catch those videos. And until next time, love you all, and I will talk to you later.